The way I think about it all the time is you do all the work to plan a great wedding. So you do all this work to plan a great wedding, right? And you spend a lot of time and then you don't send invites. Like if you don't send invites, if you don't do this work to invite people to watch your videos, then all the work you did to create that video is just going to be wasted. So institutions need to really fully understand that making a great video is step one of many, many steps.
Hey, welcome to the Higher Ed Storytelling University podcast, a show where we bring together Marcom leaders from both inside and outside higher ed to give you fresh perspectives on successful organic content creation and strategy in higher education. My name is John Azzoni. I'm the founder at Unveiled, a video production company working specifically with colleges on their storytelling and commercial video content. You can learn more about our work at unveiled.tv. That's UNVEILD. And if creating content that resonates emotionally with your audience is a priority for you, then you need to be subscribed to the Higher Ed Storytellers Digest. It's my weekly newsletter where we cover a lot of ground about content creation and strategy in higher ed. So sign up for that for free at unveiled.tv/newsletter. All right, let's get on with the show. My guest today is Matt Hames. Matt is a marketer and digital media explorer. He thinks about how the newly aware engage with organic digital content. He does communication strategy at 3 Enrollment Marketing and runs digital labs at 3E, a deep dive into the digital presence of an institution of higher education. So Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. So we're talking about YouTube today, how to be effective on YouTube, how to reach prospective students, move them down the funnel. What are the strategies and tactics that go into that? I've actually recommended you a couple times to people who have reached out to me wondering about, YouTube strategy and things like that. So I thought, let's just get this guy on the show.
I appreciate the recommendations. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So before we dive into that, I like to start off on a non-higher ed note. And I don't know if a lot of people know this about you, but you are a curler.
That is correct. Curling, yes. Well, as a card-carrying Canadian, so I'm a Canadian American. I'm citizenship of both countries. But as a Canadian, a lot of people think that hockey is Canada's sport, but curling is the sport that Canadians do. So in a country of about 35 million people, there's anywhere from 2.5 to 3 million people who go curling in Canada, which means if you're walking down the street and you bump into one person, you have a 10% chance that they're a curler. So when I lived in Canada, I traveled around the country. I was fortunate enough to be sponsored by a beer company and some other companies. And we got to travel around Canada going curling. So I've been to places like Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, and Halifax, Nova Scotia, and Kelowna, British Columbia. It's awesome. I got to travel all around. And when I moved to the US, I kept curling and I did some coaching, and I was the coach of the US men's national team at the World Championships in Basel, Switzerland, which was a great experience. Yeah. So I still do it. And here's a plug. If you Google curling near me, there is a place near you in the US. So go. It's a lot of fun. It's a reason to look forward to winter. And it's just a tremendous good time.
That's because my next point was going to be, I think in America, people like dream of curling, but no one actually knows where to go to do it.
Right. Yeah. There's a curling club in every state, including Hawaii. So give it a try. Find the nearest place near you. It's awesome for team building. The women's ice hockey team at Colgate University, which is right near me, went to our curling club and I taught them how to curl. And it was like a really fun team building thing for them. It's a really fun team building thing for your team as well. Just go and try it. Like nobody's good at curling at the very beginning. So it's really super fun to just kind of experience it together.
If you're good at bocce ball, would you be good at curling?
I liken it to the Scottish invented 3 games, curling, golf, and this game called hurling, which never caught on. Nobody is naturally good at curling or golf. Like the first time that they try it, they are awful. They're both repetitive sports, so you just have to repeat it. That's it. So it's fun. It's a fun sport to try.
Awesome. Okay, so Matt, give us a brief introduction to 3 Enrollment Marketing in your role there.
Yeah, great. Thanks for asking. We actually celebrated our birthday on February 1st. Officially, we started February 1st, 2019. And the founders of 3E, a bunch of people had a vision of how can we generate awareness better for higher education institutions? How can we better engage people? And how can we better deliver engaged people to an admissions counselor? So, in other words, if you email 100 people, just for simple numbers, if you engage 100 people via ads or emails or digital marketing, how do you then deliver the most highly engaged people to the admissions counselor to follow up with? So people who have applied, who also have a really high engagement scores, people who are more interested. So that's really the solution that we offer at 3E. And we use a bunch of different techniques, retail marketing techniques, smart email campaigning, where if you open an email, you get another email. If you click on an email, you get another email. Landing pages that are designed to generate behaviors. So all that happens on the other side of 3E. Where I come in is I go into institutions and I say, when people are newly aware, here is what they are doing. They are going to Google and typing in your name. They are going to YouTube and typing in your name. They are going to Facebook and typing in your name. Here's what they see at different points in the enrollment cycle. Here's how you can optimize what you create so that it is being delivered and seen by more people and organic. And I come in and say, we are generating a lot of awareness for your institution. What happens when you generate that awareness and where do people go? So
Right.
that's really where it comes in for me. We think about a couple of different things. We think about subject matter experts at 3E. So there's a bunch of people who are super smart in SEO and SEM and getting emails delivered into the inbox and the creation of content. Where my expertise comes in is in how the newly aware discover more.
Mm.
That's basically it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one thing I have gleaned from you in just your LinkedIn content and stuff like that. One of the things was not even necessarily related to YouTube, but the .edu is not your only website, and you should have a lot of websites. You should be optimizing all these different platforms that you're on to get people who are interested to learn more, go deeper.
Yeah. My argument is basically, and it's a semantic argument, I admit it, but I'm an English major, so bear with me. The word website is something that we use, but not something that a prospective student or family uses. To them, the Facebook page is a website with information about them. The YouTube channel is a website with videos about the institution. The Google Images search is a website of images about the institution. So calling the website and not calling the other ones websites that people look at is diminishing the power of those other platforms, in my opinion, and putting way too much weight on a .edu that, let's face it, is often committee built mess of top nav, left nav, bottom nav, and sometimes even right nav.
Yeah.
It's not the simplest of things to find information when you're a prospective student.
Yeah, it's not. I see a lot of websites that are just so cluttered, and I feel that too, because I built my own website and it's hard. You want to put everything in there, and it's you don't really have the data to know how people are clicking around and stuff like that.
What's really interesting too is that what is student life like switched from the .edu to chronological social media platforms. So it first went to Facebook, and Facebook was the chronological what is student life like. Then it went to Instagram, then it went to TikTok, and it's disappeared from the .edu. So it's hard for a .edu to answer what is student life like because that has switched to YouTube, for instance. YouTube can be the effective home for what is student life like because the .edu is no longer that place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So I want to dive into that before we get in. For listeners, I'm getting over a cold, so I'm just going to cough my way through this interview, and now you have the context for that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about YouTube and enrollment marketing. How does 3E integrate YouTube into its strategy for guiding prospects through that enrollment funnel?
So it's a great question. We have two ways that we do it. We do create pre-roll paid YouTube advertising. So we do create 15-second and 30-second spots, if you will, for our partner institutions. and buy the pre-roll, and so drive awareness behavior. And then the second part is I come in and I try to teach them a bunch of different things about YouTube and how important it is. And what's always interesting to me about YouTube is that there might be like 700 Facebook pages at an institution. And I'm not making that number up. Like there genuinely might be 700 Facebook pages at an institution, but there are often only two YouTube channels, the main YouTube channel and the athletics YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And so we'll just park athletics for a second when we talk about this, because that's a whole another podcast, but go to the main YouTube channel. So where I come in is I say, this is the one place where you can talk to prospective students and families. It is the second most used search engine on the internet, and it is owned by the first most used search engine on the internet. So giving them information about what is student life like, what is academics like, what are faculty like a bunch of different bigger picture kind of things is a smart way to tell the story about your institution. So I try to help institutions optimize YouTube as best as I possibly can, which obviously we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of that in this conversation.
Yeah. And that's a interesting, something I ran into just last week was the power of just answering those questions. Like, what is this like? What, tell me about, just different sort of questions that people might be asking, answering those on YouTube. Cause I work with University of Chicago, and we're getting ready to do a new series of videos. And I wanted to study up on one of their programs that we were going to be profiling. And I asked ChatGPT, like, tell me about this program. What's it about? And it told me, and then it spit out a video that had like, I did,
Yeah, nice.
For them.
That's awesome.
That was like, we didn't talk about this specific program in this video, but we talked about some of the adjacent things that they would have learned, which applied to this program. So they gave me this whole thing about like soft skills, interpersonal skills that you'd learn at University of Chicago, like leadership and data storytelling and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, it did its job. Like,
yeah.
So that's cool. So it really has me thinking more about like the importance of what questions are students asking as they're considering your school further and further, and how can you answer those beyond just saying, here's all the reasons why we're great. Here's another video that says, here's why we're great.
Yeah. And so another tool that you can actually use is you can Google your institution. So Google your institution by name, and the very first thing will be your.edu. The next thing will be a Google snippet called People Also Ask, which is crowdsource information that people, probably prospective students and families, are asking Google about your institution. Like, what is student life like at institution? Is institution a good school? And so answering those People Also Ask questions as a Google video is absolutely one of the most simple ways that you can be the one who answers those questions. Because often right now, John, is most of those answers are by US News and World Report or Prep Scholar or those review sites that exist in the world that answer a lot of the questions. And the ideal situation is that you answer it with a senior person at your institution who's looking into the camera and saying the answer to people's questions. So yeah, that's one of the things that I suggest all the time to our partner institutions.
Yeah. Student and alumni success stories. You want to be doing more videos like this, showcasing outcomes from your student and alumni, but you're not. Why? Well, you probably know it's one of the most effective ways of communicating your school's value to prospective students, according to just about any Marcom leader you ask, or like fancy infographic you look at. But until now, you didn't know that it could be easy. You might have visions of the logistical nightmare of coordinating video shoot after video shoot and managing the firestorm of emails, trying to align everyone's schedules and all that. But what if all you had to do was find the stories to tell and hand them off, and then compelling videos just magically appear in your inbox? Here's how our storytelling subscriptions work. We're going to batch film a year's worth of student alumni stories. It could be faculty stories, any kind of like human story, over the course of a handful of days of production. And then every month, drip out one of those stories plus a whole package of additional videos repurposed from that month's story to fill your content calendar with across the entire year. When it's all said and done, you're going to have 132 polished branded videos. And here's the icing on the cake. We're going to give you all of that B-roll and raw interview footage. So you can use that however you want at no additional charge, like, trust me, a lot of other production companies would likely charge you extra for. So learn more at unveiled.tv. And if you want to talk more in detail, you can book a call with me, John, right there on our website. Okay, back to the show. YouTube Shorts are kind of a newish thing within the last few years with the unknownness of TikTok. What's the unique opportunity that YouTube Shorts presents for in terms of like reach and deliverability and all that stuff?
Yeah, so YouTube Shorts and Reels, and I know we're not talking about meta platforms, but Reels and YouTube Shorts were born out of the ban of TikTok in India in 2020. So when the 200 million people who were using TikTok no longer could use TikTok in 2020, and those content creators no longer had TikTok as a platform, Meta introduced Reels and YouTube introduced Shorts. And I think the opportunity that continues to exist is that as the uncertainty of TikTok exists in the US, the algorithms are going to deliver shorts to more people at this particular moment. Understanding the reason behind the platforms, tactical execution, I don't even know what to call it. Understanding the reason behind shorts can help you understand how that's going to get delivered more. So just the opportunity right now is that for sure in this unknown marketplace of delivery of content, you can bet that Google and Alphabet are going to deliver shorts to people who are interested in an institution. And yes, Google is aware that you've sent emails and or have said to people, I am interested. They're aware of the Google searches that you're doing. They're aware that you've done a Google search for what is student life like at Monsters University. So if there's a Monsters University short about what student life is like, they are more likely to deliver that on your Google homepage and or in suggested videos.
Yeah, and I think that the use case for like what kinds of videos you should experiment with on Shorts is probably going to differ from Instagram,
Yes, yeah,
for
absolutely.
Instagram Reels, because I think we think about them all the same. Like, okay, I should make some trending, funny video on Instagram and then put it on YouTube Shorts, and then, you know, back in the day, put it on TikTok too. And I feel like the Reels and TikTok might have similar intended purposes that people go on there to consume, you know, entertainment or whatever. But for YouTube, I mean, if a student is on your YouTube page that's considering your school, it's likely that they don't really want to be entertained as much as they
Yes, I
want
agree.
to,
I agree.
that they want to know something. And the Shorts is I think is such a great opportunity to answer those questions in a succinct way. Because one of the things that I hate is when I have a question about something's not working right on some website or whatever, or you know, my plumbing sprung a leak or whatever it is, and I go and like I have to sift through like a 20-minute video
Yeah, right.
to find the answer. And I always go to like, give me the 1-minute video that just tells me how to fix this problem. And so I think that that thinking is useful.
I think you're exactly right. If you start to think about the questions that people might want or that might have, like, is Monsters University a good school? Well, you could have the provost or you could have somebody who's really good on camera stand up there with a vertical shot, right? Because it's going to be a short, and give a short description as to why. Every institution has an admitted student day coming up. You could have students say, here's why you should attend admitted student day
Mm-hmm.
as a short. Here's what you will get from it. Here's where to park. Here is like, you can start to answer all the questions on YouTube Shorts with simple to make videos that you can then post. Now, this is not to say that long form videos, the kind of videos that you do that talk about student life in a big way, are not also things that you should be doing. But right now, you can answer people's questions using YouTube Shorts. And you don't have to try to entertain. YouTube Shorts should inform. It's the second most used search engine on the internet. It can be the place where you can inform people about what life is like. Once they're inside the world, then the more long form videos about student life, about academics, about faculty research, those videos can then be where when they start to dive in on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we work with clients, we're actually, really diving into both. Like, here's the long form video,
Yeah, yeah.
but like, how can we design this shoot so that we can get these shorts out of it in like top of funnel topics? So like, we've been working a lot with Miami University in Ohio on this.
Gorgeous campus.
Yeah, yeah, super great. And we're getting ready to do some faculty stories. And one of the departments is kinesiology, or like exercise science, the science of movement. And one of their professors, we were just talking through, like, tell me about your research. Like, what are some things that you're interested in that you like to talk about? And he just started telling me about, like, for instance, like the influence of exercise on
Yeah.
your immune system. So like when you are going to go get a flu shot, if you exercise pretty close to that, it's going to boost the effectiveness of that flu shot, which I
Oh,
thought was
wow, really? That is awesome.
I thought that was fascinating. And I'm like, yes, let's make a short video just on that. Like, while we've got you sitting here for an hour talking about why kinesiology is a great program, let's also just get you talking about like some of these interesting things that we can repurpose into shorts. So I really suggest that that's how every school should be approaching
Yeah.
any video shoot, is thinking, don't just think for the one video, but think for what are some interesting things that people might be Googling, or people might stumble upon it that they might find interesting. So yeah.
That's awesome.
So let's talk about some best practices. So thumbnails is a big one. So our our handle is Higher Ed Storytelling. If you go on there, you'll see a lot of me not practicing what I preach.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm slowly starting to move the needle on thumbnails and like playlists and things like that. So don't judge by what I've done.
No, definitely not.
Our listeners should judge by, the theories that we talk about here. But yeah, so talk about thumbnails. What do schools do? I mean, I have so many opinions on this, but in your opinion, what do schools do wrong with thumbnails?
So yeah, a thumbnail to me is like the subject line of an email. So what schools do wrong is they leave the subject line blank. That's basically it. They don't do anything, right? So if I was to go to a VP of enrollment and say, I really think that all the emails that you send out to students should have blank subject lines, they would look at me like I was an idiot. So if I turn to them and say, well, then how come all of your YouTube videos have no thumbnails? How come there's no thumbnail inviting somebody to click on that video? And what I say to institutions, and what I'll say to you, and what I say to myself, is that the click-through rate on YouTube videos, a really, really good click-through rate, is like 6%. I bet you Mr. Beast is getting somewhere in the 10% range. Me at 3 Enrollment Marketing, I'm getting 1.5% click-through rate. And my goal in 2025 is to increase that to 2%. That is a metric you can look at in Creator Studio on YouTube. You can look at your click-through rate. You can start putting some creative thought and content to your thumbnails. And then at the end of the year, you can go to your boss and say, hey, look, I increased it by 1% or 0.5% or whatever. And that is going to lift all of your videos. If you increase your click-through rate by 0.5% or 1% this year, that will result in an X factor increase in all the views of your videos, because your channel is getting clicks. The YouTube algorithm is going to increase the amount of people who see your video and suggested videos. And thus, since they're getting clicks, they're going to carry on getting clicks, and you're just going to increase. So yeah, YouTube thumbnails are one of the most important and underutilized ways of getting people to click on your videos.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a mindset shift too, between people that just use YouTube as a dumping ground for like links or whatever. Because for a while with my YouTube page, that's what it was. I just wanted a place to upload these video podcast episodes and share them with my newsletter. And I wasn't really thinking for the YouTube community. It was more just like a dumping spot. And I think that's what a lot of colleges probably do. And you can kind of tell by their thumbnails.
Absolutely.
And their lack of playlists. What their mindset is towards YouTube. And so I really think it's like, it starts with, are you at a place, in your marketing tactics or whatever, where you're going to take YouTube seriously? And so it's fine if it's, if it's not a priority, then all of this stuff we're talking about doesn't really matter. But, when you're ready to take it seriously, like, these are the things that a serious YouTube channel looks like, intentional thumbnails, a different thumbnail for each video. One of the things that I see so much of is like, I think decisions made out of convenience. So like,
Yeah.
let's have a speaker series. So, we'll call it something, we'll call it whatever. And they will label the thumbnail by the name of the speaker series, which tells you nothing about what the person is talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
And so then you go on their page and you just see this wall of the same thumbnail.
Yeah.
And you have to burn so many calories to figure out, is there even anything interesting in here?
You've already left. You've already left.
Yeah.
Like you're just not even there anymore. So
Yeah.
I want to give you 4 tips for every single video that you upload to YouTube. So 4 tips. Here they are in order. And we can dive into these a little bit more if you want to, but
Yeah.
in order. The number 1 tip is call your video what it is, .mov or MP4. So if your video is what is student life like at Monsters University, make the video file name what is student life like at Monsters University .mov or MP4 or whatever it is. So that's the first tip. Call it what it is as much as you possibly can. Make the
file name, or should you put .mp4 in the YouTube title?
No, this is the file name.
Okay,
so this is the actual file name. So now when you upload it, think about the title of the video, because the title of the video is the most important. And the name of your institution is the most important. So Monsters University, Student Life Explained, or some sort of, so you want to get Monsters University at the left-hand side of the title as much as you possibly can. I'll live with what is student life like at Monsters University. It's still going to work. The best scenario is figuring out how to get the name of your institution as far left in the video title as you possibly can. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3, go into YouTube Creator Studio and make a default video uploads text. So the default video uploads text is, here's what admissions is like. Here's what student life is like. Here's what this is like. Here's what this is like. And with links to all of those things in the default uploads. So when you upload a new video to YouTube, automatically all of that content is there. You can delete it if you want to. You can paragraph down it and say, this video is about Matt Hames, who is an English major in Hamilton, and he's explaining why he chose Monsters University. And underneath it is a bunch of information about the institution. So that is just default content. And you can find that in the default uploads of Creator Studio. So that's tip number 3. And tip number 4 is put everything in playlists. Your video should be in 6 or 7 different playlists, because playlists is a way that Google sorts out what the next suggested video should be. So put them all in playlists, as many playlists as you possibly can. I know we're going to talk about playlists in a bit, so put them in playlists. And then we already talked about the importance of thumbnails. Thumbnails are the way when you've put your video in the best situation to get delivered to somebody. So now all of these 4 tips are helpful in getting a video delivered to somebody. The thumbnail is what gets them to click on it. So you do all those 4 things to get the video delivered, and then you do the thumbnail to get it clicked on.
Yeah, absolutely. So
simple, right? It's simple, John.
That is great. I think having a few things like that, like you should do this for every video, because when you get under the hood of uploading a YouTube video, it can be overwhelming, because there's a lot of, do you want it to say this? Is this for kids? If it's not for kids, is it, like all these possible things that you can input. And I know as a, business owner, I'm busy. Like I drag my feet with that stuff. I'm like, I did all the work to make the video. That's what I care about. And now it's
so much work.
I got to think of like tags and stuff like that. And like, it's always a temptation for it to be an afterthought.
You know what it's like? The way I think about it all the time is you do all the work to plan a great wedding. So you do all this work to plan a great wedding, right? And you spend a lot of time, and then you don't send invites.
Yeah.
It's like you planned a great wedding. You did all this work to plan a great wedding, and then you didn't send invites. So like, if you don't send invites, if you don't do this work to invite people to watch your videos, then all the work you did to create that video is just going to be wasted.
Yeah, for sure. I always have to remind myself that, like, hey, don't stop now. Like, this is
You've done all the great work, right? You've done all this awesome work, and you've made an amazing video. Now you have to invite people to watch it, because they're not just going to watch it unless you do the right things to get them to invite people. So the 4 tips are how to get your invitations delivered. The 5th thing we talked about, thumbnails, is how to get people to open it and watch your video.
Yeah. On the topic of playlists, I came across a few YouTube channels. So I'm name drop University of Hartford,
Yeah.
SUNY Polytechnic Institute, and then University of Richmond. All three of them have done playlists right. So those are great schools to look at. And then just notice how your brain feels when
Yeah.
you land on that channel, putting yourself in the perspective of in the shoes of the prospective student, how easy it is to navigate their questions and what they might want to know. If they can just like, okay, I've got a playlist here that's academic life. I can watch all of these videos. Great. But when it's like just a wall of scattered videos, think about how overwhelming that would be. Like imagine going to Netflix and there's no organization. You're just, here's a bunch of
Yeah.
possible
It's
things
just
that you could
crazy.
watch. Here's kids shows, and also here's like murder mysteries, and like, they're next to each other. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. So yeah, that was one of the things in the last week when I discovered these channels. I was like, oh my gosh, like my brain just feels like it just
It
got a
feels better,
massage,
right? So the institutions that you talked about, they've thought about a couple of things, because you can make a view for people who have not subscribed and then a view for people who have subscribed. So you can change that landing page view for non-subscribers and subscribers. And the institutions you talked about have really thought deeply about how to present information to people who have not subscribed yet. And that is really a very simple thing that not a lot of institutions do well. So yeah, I looked at the ones that you talked about and they just so easy on your brain. And you think about the brains, we talk about this all the time. The brains of prospective students and families are like, I have so
Yeah.
many options, right? Like I have so many questions. I don't even know what the questions are. I'm under so much stress. Everyone keeps asking me where I'm going to go to school. Where have you applied to school? There's so much stress. And if you think about your YouTube landing page for the non-subscribers, you can make it much less stressful and much easier to navigate. And that is just going to boost your viewership. So all these things are just tips
Yeah.
on boosting your viewership.
And the more friction you put in the way of someone that isn't fully sold on your school yet, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. Because it's like, I downloaded something that someone recommended to me the other day that was like kind of like a LinkedIn tool or whatever. And it took me a while to kind of like navigate like how to get it set up and link to my YouTube account. And I ran into some tech issues, and I'm like, on top of the fact that this is expensive, I'm like, I'm out of here. Like, because of
Absolutely.
like even just like run into like one tripping wire of like, oh, it's not working correctly. Do I really care about this enough to like contact tech support and like really go out of my way to try this out? I feel like that's like with schools, it's like you land on a YouTube page and it's like, oh, I got to think so hard about like finding a video that I want. I'm out of here.
And you're right. And there's just not enough thought put into even getting a YouTube video in front of people. Like we're not even at the stage where institutions are thinking about how to optimize YouTube to get videos in front of people. So they're not even given the option to get out of here yet. They're not even getting here first.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you look at a YouTube channel and most of them have like 500 subscribers and about 1,000 views max, right? Like, you don't often find institutions of higher education that have big amounts of subscribers and or big amounts of views of their videos. It's just, 500 to 1,000 views. And then another video that was uploaded yesterday that has 100 views or something like that. Or their feature video, if they care about it, this is how you'll fit in at our great institution, has maybe 10,000 views for a bigger institution, but mostly not, right? So they're just not putting enough thought, in my opinion, to the second most used search engine and the number one downloaded app by 13 to 17-year-olds.
Yeah.
We chase, where are the people? They're here. They're here. Why are you chasing this next thing when they're all here and you're not doing anything on this platform?
Yeah, exactly. Is there a school that you can point out like that has impressive follower numbers that, is doing it right?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at the Ivies, they just get subscribers because they are the well-branded schools, right? So your top branded schools are doing some things on YouTube that are worth looking at because they have an investment. But I ran across this school once, the University of Minnesota Duluth, and their subscriber numbers are Ivy League-like subscriber numbers. Like as part of my role at 3E, I look at a lot of YouTube channels and most of them have like max 1,000 subscribers. I talked to one institution that said that their goal each year was to increase their subscriber number by 1,000. And I said, okay, how are you going to accomplish that? And they said, we don't know, that we'd love your help. And so when I saw the University of Minnesota Duluth subscriber numbers, I called them and I said, guys, this is amazing. You have incredible numbers. Like, what did you do? And they said, we tell everybody who comes to an information session to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's like, wait, what? Back to the wedding thing, right? We
Yeah.
invite people to do the thing we want them to do. And lo and behold, people are doing the thing we want them to do. I mean, marketing is simple. Like, if you ask people to do something, they are more likely to do it. If you do not ask people to do something, they don't know you want them to do it. So like, we have all of this traffic that comes to our institutions. We have all this communication with students. What the University of Minnesota Duluth did is they just said, let's tell people to subscribe to our YouTube channel, because again, like you said, John, we're putting all this effort and time and treasure into making these videos about what life is like. Wouldn't it be great if people saw them?
Yeah.
So they just said, let's tell people to go look at the videos. It's bafflingly and absurdly that simple. It's simply telling people to subscribe to your YouTube channel. It's telling people who just graduated to go and subscribe to the YouTube channel so that more people will see how great this institution is. And by the way, if they subscribe while watching a video, that is incredible juice in the algorithm for that video. So if you can convince like your 1 to 5 year out alums to subscribe to a video about student life while watching the video, then that supercharges that video to be sent to more people. And if you've got a thumbnail, that says why you should watch the video, then you're going to get more clicks on that video. And now all of a sudden, all the work that you do, John, for institutions and making these great videos can be, it's not gaming, it's slightly gaming, but it's not really gaming, right? You're just feeding into what the algorithm is looking for, which is interest. And so if you can tell an algorithm that, again, has the file name correctly, is well titled, has a description about the video, has chapters, if you can add chapters to it, awesome. And then you ask alums to subscribe to it while watching, and that will really, really help us game the system. Then what you're doing is you're gaming the system.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, dude, this has been great. I've loved having you on here and learning all this stuff from you. Even as a videographer, we focus so much on making the videos. And then, a lot of times we're studying marketing kind of on the side.
Yeah, absolutely.
And these algorithms are always changing and stuff like that. So I love having people like you on there. It's like one of your main things is like studying the algorithm. So
I constantly like to say it, John. You guys are wedding planners and you plan incredible weddings. And then nobody invites people to your wedding. Yeah. So like, institutions need to really fully understand that making a great video is step one of many, many steps. So hopefully they've come out of this with some tips on how to turn the great investment and the great videos. I see it so many really awesome videos that institutions are making. And I just look at the title and I look at the description and I know the file name is not right, because nobody makes file names right. And I look at the thumbnail and I just think, oh, this wasted potential, all of this time and effort to make this brilliant video. That's not it. You're not done yet. And they got done with making the great video, which makes me sad, because like, the stories out there are awesome. And I just wish more people saw them.
Love it. That's a great line to end on. Where can people find you at?
Well, you can find me personally on LinkedIn. And you can find more information about what we do at 3 Enrollment Marketing at 3enrollment.com. We also have the Institute of Higher Education is happening in June in Beaver Creek, Colorado. And we're going to talk about so much of this. I'm going to be there. You can pick my brain at Beaver Creek. It's a great opportunity to understand enrollment as a whole. So we just care so much about enrollment. And everybody who goes to the Institute for Higher Education gets a mentor. And I am happy to mentor people on how to optimize their YouTube channels as well. And again, as the VP of enrollment or an enrollment professional, you don't go in and vacuum and clean the walls of your welcome center, but you do ask people to vacuum and clean the walls. So I can give you the language that people want to do on how to vacuum and clean the walls of your YouTube channel, because it's completely messy and should be fixed.
Perfect. All right, man. Well, thanks so much for coming on. It's been great having you.
Yeah, it's been such a great conversation, and I appreciate you having me on. And let's stay in touch and keep chatting about this.
All right. Sounds good. Hey, thanks so much for listening. 3 things I want to invite you to before you go. Number 1, if you want to know what's working right now in higher ed video, like what videos are getting tons of views, likes, comments, all that, you can get ungated access to our report, aptly named What's Working in Higher Ed Video, a comprehensive guide for higher ed Marcom leaders and content creators. So check it out at unveiled.tv/higher ed video, and you might want to bookmark it because it's designed to be a resource for you that you can keep referring back to for inspiration. Number 2, reminder to sign up for my free newsletter all about content creation and strategy at unveiled.tv/newsletter. And number 3, follow me on LinkedIn. If you're searching for me, my name is John Azzoni. It's spelled Johnazoni. I'm on there all day, every day, for better or for worse, posting regular content and engaging with folks like you. So I'd love to connect with you on there. And with that, we'll catch you on the next episode of the Higher Ed Storytelling University podcast. And as always, I am cheering you on. Okay, bye.